Hey there, my friend. Welcome to my channel. I'm truly grateful you're here. If this is your first time stopping by, please consider subscribing and sharing this video with your family and friends. Helps more than you know. Also, tell me in the comments which city and country you're watching from. I read every single comment and love hearing from you. Now let's dive in. From the moment Naomi entered his life, Elijah felt like something deep inside him had taken physical form, a part of his very soul living and breathing outside of him. Naomi wasn't just his daughter. She became his heartbeat, the light in his darkest days, the one who could pull a smile from him even when words failed. They shared a bond that went beyond the ordinary. It wasn't just about routines or responsibilities. They had an unspoken understanding, a quiet rhythm in which Elijah could sense her feelings before she said a word. For years they moved through life as a team. She leaned on him and he kept her grounded. Together they weathered every storm. But recently, something in Naomi had shifted. It was subtle at first, a distant look in her eyes, a hollow silence that wasn't natural to her. And day by day, that distance seemed to grow wider. Naomi, 16, had always been sharp-witted, expressive, and full of energy. She never shied away from sharing her thoughts, whether it was excitement over a book or frustration with her friends. But now, she seemed to be slipping away. She'd come home, barely mumble a greeting, then disappear into her room, shutting herself off from the world. Elijah tried to bridge the widening gap, cracking old inside jokes, playing songs they once sang together during car rides, but her responses were brief, her smiles fleeting. Her eyes would meet his only for a second before drifting elsewhere, as if her mind was trapped in a place he couldn't reach. He told himself this was probably just teenage growing pains. Maybe she had a falling out with friends, or maybe there was heartbreak involved, something that would eventually pass. Still, the ache in his chest deepened. Dinner time, once lively with laughter, now passed in heavy silence. Naomi would finish eating quickly, murmur about homework, and retreat. When she did sit near him in the evenings, she'd claim she was too tired to talk. Her smiles weren't real anymore. Too forced, too practiced. Elijah considered pressing her harder, asking directly if someone had hurt her. But fear held him back. Fear of pushing too hard and driving her even further away. So he waited. He believed she'd come to him when she was ready. But weeks passed, and the distance only grew. One evening, long after Naomi had gone to bed, Elijah stood by the fireplace, staring at an old photo of them at the lake, caught mid-laugh. He remembered that summer, her sunburned cheeks, her lopsided hat, the way she wrapped her arms around him so tightly. The memory felt close and far all at once. He wondered where it all went wrong. Had he missed the signs? Had he pulled away when she needed him most? He felt lost. But there was one thing he knew for sure. He wouldn't stop trying. Letting Naomi slip away wasn't something he could accept. And what Elijah didn't know yet was that the truth was already approaching. A truth that would shatter everything. One afternoon, by pure coincidence, Elijah's work meeting was cancelled. He decided to come home early, thinking maybe he'd surprise Naomi with her favorite takeout. As he got out of the car, he heard something faint, a muffled sound, a sob carried on the breeze. Alarmed, he dropped the grocery bags and rushed toward the house. There on the front porch, curled up and shaking, was Naomi. Her face was buried in her arms, her whole body racked with sobs. Heartbroken, broken beyond words. Elijah approached cautiously, his voice soft as he asked what happened. Naomi didn't answer at first. Her hands trembled, and her breath came in ragged gasps as she fought to speak. Elijah didn't pressure her. He simply sat nearby, close enough to be present, far enough to give her space. Minutes passed before she finally lifted her head. Her eyes were swollen, her face pale, her lips quivering, and what Elijah saw in her expression was a weight no child should ever bear. And then, with a shaky voice, she began to speak. She told him it had started just days earlier. She had taken a shortcut home from school, an unfamiliar street she'd never walked before. That's when she saw it. Her mother's car, parked discreetly near a quiet intersection. Curiosity pulled her closer. But what she saw inside the car froze her in place. There was her mother, Harper, kissing Mr. Lyle, her history teacher. Not a polite kiss. Not a momentary mistake. It was intimate, passionate, like two people who had been hiding their connection for far too long. Naomi said it felt like time stopped. The man who taught her history class every morning was now sitting in her mother's car, locked in an embrace with her, their faces full of warmth and familiarity. Naomi couldn't believe it. She couldn't even move. She watched, paralyzed, as her mother's hand lovingly traced Mr. Lyle's face, their laughter soft but clear. Then Naomi ran. She locked herself in her room, too shocked to cry, too stunned to speak. She'd been carrying the secret ever since, crippled by confusion and fear, unsure what to do. She tried to convince herself it wasn't real, that maybe she had misinterpreted it somehow. But every time she looked at her mother or sat in Mr. Lyle's classroom, her insides twisted with rage, hurt, and disgust. She was terrified, scared that if she spoke up, she'd tear her family apart. So she kept it inside, drowning in the weight of it. Elijah's heart broke with every word. Still, he never interrupted her. Not once. He listened, steady and silent, even as her confession shattered him from within. When she finished, he pulled her into a tight embrace. She sobbed against him, unleashing everything she had held in for too long. He whispered softly in her ear, "You're not alone. Believe you. And we'll face this together." Those few words loosened something in Naomi's chest. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she could finally breathe. Later that night, while she slept, Elijah stayed awake, his mind racing. Harper, his wife, Naomi's mother, the woman he thought he knew, was now a stranger to him. But Elijah knew one thing. He needed proof. Cold, undeniable proof. The next morning, after dropping Naomi off at school, Elijah called an old friend, Derek, who had become a private investigator. He explained everything, begging for total discretion. Derek promised results within a week. That week dragged by like molasses. Harper moved about the house like nothing had changed, cooking dinner, folding laundry, scrolling on her phone, oblivious to the storm brewing. Elijah played along, though it crushed him. And Naomi. Her silence told him everything he needed to know. Finally the call came. "I have what you need," Derek said. That night, Elijah picked up an envelope and a flash drive. The first photo took his breath away. Harper and Mr. Lyle, holding hands as they entered a cheap motel in broad daylight. Other images followed. Coffee dates, stolen kisses in parked cars, affectionate touches. Every moment was time-stamped, undeniable. Elijah said nothing. He paid Derek and left. Home, Harper sat watching TV, unaware. Without a word, Elijah handed her the envelope. By the third photo she crumbled, tears spilling, her hands shaking. She tried to explain how she'd felt lonely, neglected, how Mr. Lyle had made her feel seen. But Elijah wasn't listening anymore. From the hallway Naomi appeared, her face pale, her body still as stone, hearing every word. That sight crushed Harper completely. Naomi stepped back, her voice icy. "I don't want to hear it," she said, then turned and walked away. Harper broke down, but Elijah didn't flinch. "You didn't just betray me," he said, his voice calm but heavy with sorrow. "You dragged our daughter into this. No shouting, no screaming, only quiet, devastating disappointment." Harper packed a bag and left that same night. 2 days later, Elijah sent an email to the school board, attaching the evidence and demanding an investigation into Mr. Lyle's conduct. Within 48 hours, Mr. Lyle was suspended. A week later, he was fired permanently for breaching ethics. Naomi found out through a classmate's text. She approached Elijah, asking softly, "Did you do this?" He nodded and told her simply, "I did it to protect you." She hugged him tightly, without words, without hesitation. From that point forward, things slowly began to heal. Elijah adjusted his life to focus on Naomi, driving her to school, cooking meals together, rediscovering small joys. Harper's divorce came quickly. She surrendered the house to Elijah and Naomi without a fight, choosing instead to leave town and start over elsewhere. Though Harper tried to reach out later, Elijah kept communication strictly about Naomi, and Naomi herself refused to respond. She wasn't ready to forgive, and Elijah never forced her. Months later, Naomi entered a writing contest titled, "What Defines Courage?" Her essay won first place. It was about her father, a man who stood quietly by her side when everything else crumbled. Elijah read her words, tears filling his eyes. When he finished, he whispered, "You saved me too." In that quiet kitchen, they both realized something profound. Even in betrayal, something unbreakable had grown between them. Because when truth meets courage, even the deepest wounds can heal, and from devastation, a stronger love can rise. The story ends here, my friend. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this story, check out more on my channel. Until next time, take care.